It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Court the Q.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We've got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here as was Court. And Court, some news, channel news. We have a YouTube channel now. So you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/projectinfinitepod. All the episodes are there, from episode 1 to episode whatever the last one was, 125. I think it was 100,000. So yeah, just another avenue for you to listen. So subscribe on over there and continue to listen everywhere else. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, which is the same thing.
Your grandma's radio.
Yep.
Haven't done that joke in a while.
Haven't done that one in a while, yeah. So I just want to get that out there. We are now on YouTube, so that's great. And more to come after that. But today, this week, we're in the Deadpool throes of it now. As we kind of talked about last week, Deadpool and Wolverine quickly approaching. The early kind of responses are coming in, and people are quite positive about Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever you want to call it. And that's super exciting. And I'm not surprised. And the reason I'm not surprised is for what we're going to talk about over the next couple of weeks. We're going to kind of take a look at these other two Deadpool movies this week. The first one this week, the second one next week. So Deadpool 1, we're going to do a little film retrospective on, just kind of highlighting how it got made, how it ended up becoming the highest rated, at the time, the highest rated R-rated film of all time, the reception to it, which was overwhelmingly positive, and we'll just kind of talk about why that movie seemed to work so well. Obviously spearheaded by Ryan Reynolds, but a lot more goes into it than that. So we'll talk about that. And a bunch of other stuff about Deadpool 1, and I'm super excited to do that. But first, we have some news, and it's not so much news as it's a good old-fashioned trailer week. A lot of trailers to talk about, to digest. First and foremost, bet you didn't see this coming, but he is the patron saint of the podcast. So, Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are going to be starring in an A24 film, kind of... just dovetailing off the topic of last week.
You love to see it.
You love
when Court's right.
Yeah. So John Crowley directing an A24 film starring Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh called We Live in Time.
I believe based off a book, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but it might be based off of a book as well.
And it's going to be...
Is cinema back?
It's going to be one of those movies.
Cinema might be back. I mean, I'm looking forward to this. I mean, the director of this had done Brooklyn with Saoirse Ronan in 2015 and has done episodes of the original Recipe True Detective and episodes of Black Mirror, the Aaron Paul episode of Black Mirror. So definitely got some great credits behind him as well. Hopefully, this gets Andrew Garfield some mention for his first Oscar. I mean, as the channel that loves him so much, I would love for him to, get some hardware, in his closet. I mean, somebody with a career like that's, he's been through so much as an actor, he's been doing this for how long? And, I feel like he's gained so much love over the last couple of years. We loved him since the start. But, all jokes aside, something that's gained so much love. It's just, I love going on Twitter and just seeing this trailer come out and people are like, we love Andrew Garfield more than we love Aaron. Like, same. That guy's awesome and he's amazing.
Yeah, he's been nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Hacksaw Ridge and Tick Tick Boom.
That Tick Tick Boom performance. Incredible. He just decided, I'm going to sing.
Yeah, he won the Golden Globe, obviously, for Tick Tick Boom. Yep. He got a Tony Award. He's got a Tony Award under his belt. So it feels like over the last... what is this, 2024? So probably like 5-ish years. He's just been kind of knocking on the door of like that big, Oscar-winning performance. Yep. Tick Tick Boom in another year could have been that.
I think for some, and having a performance like that where, you're also performing as well. I mean, essentially you're always performing, but when you're
had never done so before
exactly.
that movie.
And how incredible. And, I'm not afraid to say that if my Apple Music replay for 2023. That was my most listened to album from 2023 was the Tick Tick Boom soundtrack. So
yeah, so super excited for this. The trailer just looks like it's going to be one of those movies that just breaks your heart.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of vibes. The same feeling I got when I watched the Past Lives trailer, where I don't want to exist anymore. this hurts.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be one of those movies that's equal parts heartwarming and heartbreaking. It seems like.
I mean, going to the heartwarming part, that's the other side of the coin, and that's Florence Pugh. How incredible she is. How enigmatic she is as well too. She is such a just absolute ball of fire whenever she does anything. She's one of those actors where it's like I have no choice but to pay attention and listen. Like she has such an auditory version of herself as much as a visual version, and I really appreciate the work that she does. I just love how versatile she is too. I mean, she really can do any genre, anything you ask, you insert her, and she's incredible, and then adds a little bit more than that too.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. And like I said, I hope like I said, Andrew Garfield's been knocking on the door. It seems like for the last 5 or so years when it comes to actually, winning an Oscar. So we'll see if maybe this is the one.
Yeah, and Florence
this is
Pugh
the one that gets him.
Can get something as well. Also Oscar nominated Florence Pugh. So
yeah. So that's that, and then the next bit, Gladiator.
Yeah, this is what everybody was waiting for, right?
We got a Gladiator 2 trailer, the Ridley Scott directed sequel to obviously to Gladiator 1.
The all-time great Gladiator 1.
And yeah, man, we got actors doing acting in this trailer. First and foremost, Denzel, I think it's one of those things where when we saw that he got cast in this, we were like,
excuse me?
Like, whoa. Mm-hmm. We were, curious to see what that would look like, and it looks pretty much like Denzel Washington.
Yeah. I think he's at that point in his career where he can kind of, start to take on some more. And somebody made a good point. It's like having like an old veteran on your team, but also an old veteran that also can potentially win an MVP award. Like, it's such a point of like knowing how integral he is to, the actual DNA of which is film itself. Like, he's ingratiated into what being an actor is. And, my excitement comes from 2 years ago, during when Paul Mescal was nominated for Best Actor as well too, and he kind of was the one that was just like, I know he has no chance because it was in the same year with Will Smith, but I would have been so happy if he were to win. And for him to get somebody like Denzel, he's not even in his 30s yet, and now he gets somebody like Denzel Washington to act alongside. I think that's an important piece for him in his acting career. But I mean, man, you're talking about 40 years, 50 years of just exuding this type of charisma should be illegal. Like, it should not even be a thought. And I mean, in a trailer that has, every indie girlie's favorite Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal, where Denzel's taking the spotlight, it shows that he is one of the most important actors to ever live. Yeah,
and just what he does in this trailer is what, in my opinion, has come to identify peak Denzel is his presence. Mm-hmm. He has this gravitas and this aura about him whenever he's on screen. He's
like a planet. He has no, like, all the other planets, or he's like the sun. Like, everything kind of gravitates around him at this point. And it's such a good contention, too, because the fact that, the next piece we can get into is Pedro Pascal. Like, Pedro Pascal is essentially doing the same thing, and this movie might be able to really fly because of that. I don't really want to talk fear, because I do think this is a good trailer, but your fear, I guess, is somebody kind of usurping somebody else in something like this when you have this caliber of actor. Like I said, Paul Mescal's on his way up. Like, he's so much on his way up. You have Joseph Quinn is again playing I do think that Denzel is going to end up being the actual villain of this movie, but you have all these moving parts, and not just these moving parts. You have like these absolute forces going up against each other, but you can look at that as a great thing. Like, this is what peak acting can look like.
Yeah, I think it's a great like when you kind of like divvy up the quadrant. I think it's a great kind of, you have one like legendary actor, you have one very established kind of at the peak of his powers actor in Pedro Pascal, and then you have these two kind of up and comers. Paul Mescal, who's already kind of like ascended to like that award winning kind of like, he's kind of like the now, and then you have Joseph Quinn, who's kind of like on the ascent. We talked about Joseph Quinn last week when we talked about A Quiet Place. We talked about him with Stranger Things. Like, the star is ascending rapidly, and he he's another one. Like, you talk about Florence Pugh's versatility. Like, look at the stuff Joseph Quinn's been involved in the last handful of years.
I can't wait till Joseph Quinn gets the shut up role. I can't wait till he gets that. And you know what I mean? He gets that role where he's going to be in some, it's going to be some A24 movie, and it's going to be like, you guys don't understand that I do this. Like, I'm all about this. Like, I do this. And I can just tell from A Quiet Place, those trailers as well too. And like, I feel like we've been practitioned from the way that we watch Stranger Things, was like, this is the one thing he does. And no, he was in his 20s doing that. Like, he's still in his 20s. Like, I love the fact that him and Paul Mescal are still in their 20s, going up with like, early 50s Pedro Pascal and 70s Denzel. Like,
that's the cool part about it.
That's an incredible point you made. It's like, we're seeing these great, like, I truthfully believe if Paul Mescal stays on this track, he's going to be an all-time great actor. Pedro Pascal's right about there. And then obviously, you ask anybody, Denzel's probably in everybody's top 5 greatest actors to ever live.
Yeah.
So, coupling that, and it's a point I made too. Somebody said, I don't know how I feel about this. I'll always say, to the end of the day, if it's the same person making the thing, even if it's, almost 30 years later, okay, good. Like, that's fine with me. Or 25 years later, like, that's fine. It's the same person making the same thing. I'm cool if we extend this universe, and look at the personnel you put on.
Yeah, and it looks,
it technically looks very good.
Yes.
It looks very good. Yep. It looks very grandiose too, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a good, Thanksgiving time movie as well too, where it's like, your families are together. I think they picked the time purposely, like, your families are together already too. So it's just like, hey, dad who saw Gladiator 1, like, son who hadn't seen Gladiator 1 but excited for Gladiator.
Like the Top Gun thing, kind of. Like, this is, the setup like this is obviously a huge risk when it comes to like legacy sequels, but also can reap a massive reward too. Like, if it catches the right, if it catches the right tone, and it works out, like, you're talking about a movie that could do really, really well and it could be really, really good. If it catches, like you said, that generational if it catches that generational cliff of having like both sides of it, and it goes back again to the kind of brilliance of the casting. Like, people are gonna, obviously the legacy people are gonna go see it because it's another Gladiator movie, but then like, you're like, oh, Denzel Washington's in this, and then you get like, people in their 30s and 40s that are like, oh, Pedro Pascal is in this, and then you get the people in like their 20s and 30s. They're like, oh, Paul Mescal and Joseph Quinn are in this. Like, you're kind of hitting a lot of demographics just on the talent alone, and then you combine that with the look and the feel of the movie, and it creates this groundswell of this could be really something else.
Yeah, what I'll leave with is as ever grand and as ever of a spectacle that Gladiator 1 was, there was this subtlety to Gladiator 1. Like, there was this like almost sublime nature to kind of like, you're asking your questions on like of power, obviously, and what power will do to people. It's one of the most classics in, like, you look at like the landscape of cinema, one of the most classic revenge stories. Like, you could probably like look at the revenge story list, and like Gladiator's like probably in the top 3. Like, it's simplicities that I think makes Gladiator 1 really excel, and then it really expands through Russell Crowe, because that's one of the best, I'm the main character movies there's ever been. Like, I'm the absolute main character in something like this. And now it's a different perspective this time, because now we essentially have, 3 main characters plus Joseph Quinn on top of that as well too. And you still have Connie Nielsen too. So you still have this incredible cast. You have some legacy with Connie as well in this movie. Like, I think this is built to not only make money, but this is built to be a pretty dang good movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm, all the things I'm excited about it are all actor and character driven, to be honest. Like, I'm really curious to see how these 4 characters kind of cross paths and interact with each other, and what their dynamics and relationships are going to be. And I'm just looking forward to seeing these 4 actors kind of share space together. Obviously they're not all going to be together at the same time, but like, just any combination of those 4 actors, I'm really, really excited to see. And the fun part is 2 of them are going to be acting together again in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is really cool. Yep. And then, so the next trailer we finally got the long-awaited, long-discussed, what is this thing trailer for Agatha All Along, as we talked about, is the official name of this show, coming in September. It's going to be a 2-episode September premiere, and you know, the trailer, I think, surprised me in how much I was thrilled that they are not doing what I thought. At least based on the trailer, they're not doing what I thought they were going to do, where this is going to be like the Catherine Hahn, like she's like the Catherine Hahn, like jokey hour of like television, where she's just kind of swagger her way through 45 to 50 minutes of TV. There looks to be like an actual thing going on here.
Do you know why I feel like this trailer worked for me? There's a definitiveness to this trailer. Like, there's something that tells me that they know exactly what they just made, which a lot of
this character's like, it feels like this character's going on a journey.
Exactly, yep. And it's something that's kind of, you know, not too convoluted either. Like, it's as simple as, like, she lost her power, she wants her power back. And I guess the journey that we're going to learn is, like, you know, who is she without the power and why does she want it back so bad? Like, it's just simple questions being asked.
If you're nothing without the hat and the broomstick, then you shouldn't have it. But no, I was really... I hope that the trailer belies what the actual tone of the show is going to be.
Yep.
Where it's going to be like... Because it's coming out in September, it's probably going to wrap up around Halloween.
Yeah, well, they said this is like a Halloween season event.
I would be cool with that. I would be cool if it's like spooky season. Like, we both really enjoyed Werewolf by Night, which was like a spooky season Marvel thing that I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, like Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness had these like horror elements to it that like, I don't know what it is about like Marvel mixing in like the horror elements, but it feels like their most consistently good kind of genre to hit. Like, anytime they've hit a horror or horror adjacent thing, it feels like it's always worked for whatever reason. And this feels like it's doing that. Like, it feels, you know, it feels a little bit darker than say like a Hocus Pocus.
Sure. Yep.
But it could also have that same type of appeal because
I guarantee you that was probably one of the conversations in pitch meetings. Which
because of the people that like the cast that you have involved, like Aubrey Plaza, Catherine Hahn can both kind of swagger the way through like a spooky thing. And if that's what you're going for, I think this could actually work.
Yep. Yeah. I'm just, again, the big thing that hit me with was just like, this feels consistent. Like, this feels like there's actual consistency to this. This feels like a realized thing. And, you know, I love, you know, sunning myself when we do this and like telling myself that I was wrong. Like, I was wrong. Like, I was not even thinking about looking forward to this show. And now I'm actually like, you know, I'm Leo and Django. Like, you know, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. Like, I'm listening now. Like, and this, you know what this show can also do? This show can maybe prove that, like, even these, like, little pieces that might not seem like they mean anything, and maybe they don't to the large scale, like, this is just a good show. Like, maybe they can try to do that. Like, hopefully, like, obviously you're not going to get Loki each time, where not only is it a great show, it also means a lot to the grand scheme of things. Like, you don't need that, essentially. Like, you know, whatever Echo was lacking, or, you know, something like, I don't know. What's another Marvel show that wasn't too hot?
I mean, you could probably throw like Moon Knight in there,
right? And you know, Moon Knight has its issues in its structure, like a lot. And it kept once, it was when Moon Knight came out, we kind of looked at the structure of all the Disney Plus shows, and like, you know, one of the best Disney Plus shows was WandaVision, and WandaVision's structure helped it. It was the 9-episode structure. You know, get this, you know, stretched out. That's what TV is a little bit. That 6-episode structure is hurting. Loki just was so dialed in its writing that it did. And like, you know, when you get cracks in your writing, that's where, you know, structure can start to bleed. Like, everything starts to bleed. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Catherine Hahn puts up like just an incredible, like, I'm back performance. Yeah. She's going to do another musical number.
Of course, yes, absolutely, 100%. I would expect that the less, but I think like, based on when they announced it, you know, what she was doing at the time when they announced it, I think I did get kind of clouded by the fact that, like, is this just going to be like a goofy, like, Catherine Hahn, like, one-woman show type thing? I think my, like, perspective got a little skewed, and, you know, to be fair, to my defense, like, Marvel didn't do anything that countered that point. Like, they were just like, they're putting Aubrey Plaza in this, and they're doing this, and they're doing this. The title keeps changing. You're just like, what is this? Like, what is happening? Like, and then they, again, we'll never know. The true story is if this was indeed the plan the entire time, was to name the show Agatha all along, and everything else that got leaked and reported was actually part of the plan. But it was, if so, it's pretty brilliant. And then, you know, they kind of show off this first trailer that feels very like True Detective, supernatural, like kind of, you don't.
I think that supernatural comparison is good. It's
you don't really know what's going on,
right?
Like,
the show can operate very, very close to the chest, and I think it needs to be.
If it is going to be, I don't know how much of the show is going to spend in this. Agatha being trapped in her own head, but I think it could be to your point about WandaVision, like it could kind of structure itself like WandaVision, where like maybe your first 2 or 3 episodes like is Agatha in this, like she's in the True Detective, like she thinks she's living this life, and then some inciting incident happens, and like the 3rd episode, maybe it's the Aubrey Plaza thing where she in the trailer she's like, you gotta remember who you are, Simba.
Like snap yourself out of it. Like I just, obviously my questions are narrative, but that's good. That's good. Like, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to give it a watch, give it a fair chance, as I do everything we give a fair chance, even the Acolyte.
Man.
We'll get there in 2 weeks, because that's what we're going to talk about in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Because I think The Boys is going to finish first, right?
Yeah, everything's finishing at the same time, because The Boys, The Acolyte, and we're getting Deadpool and Wolverine in the same 2-week period. So.
Yeah. And then the last trailer we got a trailer for Watchmen animated trailer, Watchmen Chapter 1. So this is pretty much just a straight adaptation of the graphic novel. Like there's really, no bells and whistles behind it. It's really just the graphic novel brought to life. I love the animation style that we got in this trailer. I love the voice acting. It seems to be, much like the Watchmen graphic novel. It's very Rorschach focused.
Heavy,
Also seems like it's going to be not very comedian focused, but there's an element of like the comedian's backstory that seems like we're going to get in this.
It's almost like how they took the approach with Ozymandias in the show with Regina King. It's kind of how I think that the comedian's going to take a lot of precedence in this. And, I feel like we live in a future where like the villain being, having a voice and not just being a cackling person is important. And to its point, it should be important. You want to flesh out everybody. So I like the approach of the comedian, especially in that world, because it's almost just like, again, it's like the Punisher and the Joker had a kid. It's like, all the insanities and all the, insane pieces of the world, are just kind of, this is how we exist. Like, and, it's the contention. That's the best piece about Watchmen is the contention with everything. It's like, we joke about The Boys being the most realistic version of superhero. It probably would go a lot more like The Watchmen if that were to be, if people, decided to take on vigilantism. It would look like The Watchmen. Like, these people that think that they can do extraordinary things, falling on their butt every time they try to do it. But some people succeed in this, but it's all, they even say the line in the trailer, like, was this a political killing? Like, this is what it would divulge into. So, it looked good. I like the new animation style. I feel like that's going to be a new, like, television animation style and television and like some movies are going to use that kind of what if style. It's cool. It's definitive.
I think it works for this universe too.
Yeah.
Because I think both of us can agree that one of the best looking episodes of What If was that Nebula Blade Runner episode.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting that.
Which had has a lot of visual similarities to this Watchmen trailer where it's very dark and rainy and a lot of neon lights, and I don't know what it is about that animation style, but that aesthetic seems to fit the animation the best.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it looks really good. I'm really keen on checking it out.
Yeah.
And then
watch the Watchmen Watchmen TV show too.
Oh yeah.
There's a week we're going to talk about that TV show.
It's going to happen. And then the last bit of news we got, because I just felt like we had to talk about it, was because, people are always like, movies are dying. And then Inside Out 2 came out and was just like, no.
Yeah, what if we printed money for a living?
It is officially Pixar's highest grossing film of all time. It passed The Incredibles. It is number 4 all time in the top grossing animated film, so it is currently behind Frozen, the Mario movie, and Frozen 2 are the only 3 ahead of it, and all projections are that it's going to pass all 3 of those.
It's insane.
And become the highest grossing animated film of all time.
Yep. What did I joke to you and say? I said this is the most Pixar universe that they have. It's
the thing that they... this is when they're at their best.
Ooh, there's the point I was looking for. You know why this works? Because this is the new age of Pixar for, when we were kids and we were watching Pixar, like, this is the new age of it. Like, this is for the kids now. Like, that's why I think this works so well. It's because it's not just for even the kids now. It's also for like the tweens now. Like I feel like this is a very important movie too. Of what the trailers look like as well, all those things. Like this is an important movie, and this is probably going to hit home for a lot of people, a lot of adults too. Who went through that, because we all went through that. We all went through just based off the trailers, all went through what Riley went through. So I am very much looking forward to that. We haven't seen it yet. Maybe we'll check it out. And if it's okay or pretty good, which it's a lot of people are saying, maybe we'll talk about it one day. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do like a Pixar related episode one day.
Yeah.
Favorite Pixar movie?
Toy Story. Toy Story 3 specifically.
The Incredibles. I think it is perfect.
Yeah. The Incredibles is also really, really good. Obviously.
Most underrated Pixar movie.
I think Soul.
Don't take mine, because I think Soul also is the most.
Just because of the time that it came out in, I think it just didn't get as much recognition and as much kind of gravitas as it should have.
When like you go on the internet and you're just like, cinema is beautiful, like Soul belongs in that. Like that's like a ferociously beautiful movie.
Yeah.
And heartfelt movie. And so just god dang real.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the best of what when Pixar is at its best. That's the type of stuff that it's able to do. And I think the first Inside Out movie did that really well, and by all accounts, the second one is doing the same thing. With that being said, though, let's talk about a little movie called Deadpool.
Hey, I wanna shoot you, baby.
This is we talked about these fascinating. Usually when we do these retrospectives, there's usually some type of fascinating backstory that comes associated with the movie. Like we talked about this with Iron Man, we talked about Black Panther, Avatar. Like these movies that we've done these retrospectives on always come with these stories of like, well, how did this happen?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about movies themselves is in cinema itself is that there's the story of the movie and then there's the story about the story of the movie.
Yeah, and this one again has such an interesting story behind it because the Deadpool movie goes back as far as the year 2000 is when it was a little deal between Artisan Entertainment and Marvel Entertainment in 2002 to distribute a bunch of movies. This is, again, we talked about this when we talked about Iron Man. Marvel was at a period where they could not turn the lights on. So they needed, they sold off all these characters and all these rights to these characters to all these different entertainment companies to make movies. So it was going to be Deadpool was in the ring with this, and in 2004, David S. Goyer and Ryan Reynolds were working on a Deadpool movie for New Line Cinema. So this was going to be a New Line Cinema joint.
Oh, it was going to be a rom-com. Is this movie a rom-com?
Hold that point. Obviously, David S. Goyer and Ryan Reynolds worked together on Blade 3, and they were going to do... And Ryan Reynolds was always... attached to this character because in the Deadpool comics there's an offhanded comment about Wade Wilson being crossed between Sharpay and Ryan Reynolds. So for that reason, Ryan Reynolds always kind of had this affinity for this character. People were always, when you talk about actors being suited for a particular role, Ryan Reynolds was always suited for this role, and people were agreed with that. But thanks to the rights issues between 20th Century Fox and the X-Men, the Deadpool project could not move forward at New Line Cinema because Deadpool obviously is in the X-Men bucket. So Fox had control of Deadpool. I don't know how they didn't know that. Right. You'd think someone would have known that. And then in March 2005, Fox became interested in putting Deadpool in something related to the X-Men universe. This, of course, became X-Men Origins Wolverine, by which...
What an incredible picture.
Originally, the Deadpool character was slated for a cameo appearance, and then, you know what Fox be doing. Fox was like, let's just get him a bigger role so that we can explore Deadpool's potential future. And then X-Men Origins happened, and it bastardized the character of Deadpool beyond all recognition. And man, that set the character and Ryan Reynolds' pursuit of this character back.
Wait, did he do Green Lantern before or after Origins Wolverine?
After.
Jesus.
Yes.
Wow, imagine being Ryan Reynolds. He fails he fails X-Men. What's funny about X-Men Origins Wolverine is his Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, like Wade Wilson, is one of the best parts of that movie, and they use him for like 2 minutes and then he's gone.
You know, it's just not, it's not going well. So we're up to, so what did I say? This started in 2000?
2000.
So it's 2010 now. And Ryan Reynolds is working with a couple people to write a Deadpool movie still. And then that is when Tim Miller enters the fold. So Tim Miller, who directed this Deadpool movie, worked on the visual effects for some of the X-Men movies. He, had done some really small things with animation and worked with, got together with Ryan Reynolds to start concocting this Deadpool thing. Then Green Lantern happens.
Yes.
And it kills essentially the Deadpool project.
Yep.
Because Fox looked at Ryan Reynolds and were like, he's not him. He's not the guy. They already were lenient or hesitant about doing an R-rated movie.
Right. Yep.
An R-rated superhero movie. So,
and look at the landscape of superhero movies at the time as well too, because this is when the MCU is really starting to ramp up. And not only the MCU, when X-Men Origins or X-Men First Class comes out, then you're like, okay, well maybe we can take these X-Men movies seriously as well too. Like maybe these movies do have credibility. And then the Avengers comes out, so they're like, Deadpool, and this time R-rated, like our PG-13 movies are working, like people are watching them, like maybe not the best idea.
So Fox basically comes to agreement with Tim Miller. They give him a very, very tiny amount of money, relatively, a couple $100,000 to produce some test footage for Deadpool. And Ryan Reynolds is not there. He voices it, but is not actually there. And Fox, this is before we saw it. Fox apparently saw it and was not convinced. So Deadpool was shot, essentially. Then the Avengers comes out, to your point, and Fox was like, maybe we can do it. So Fox was like, hey, maybe we don't do Deadpool by himself, but maybe we get Deadpool in like an Avengers like fun team up thing. And they're like, how are you going to do that? So again, this thing just doesn't happen. And then the Day of Infamy happens. In July of 2014, the test footage that Tim Miller shot gets leaked online by somebody. That may or may not be Ryan Reynolds. The internet explodes. They're like, this is incredible. This is like...
And we hadn't seen anything out of the superhero genre like that. And how many years? I mean, since the Blade days, like Blade 1 specifically, we hadn't seen anything like that.
Yeah. And this reception ultimately culminates in Fox fully greenlighting Deadpool for release date of February 2016. Ryan Reynolds specifically cites the leak as the reason why the movie got made. To this day, nobody knows who leaked the footage. Ryan Reynolds maybe believes. Ryan Reynolds points the finger at Tim Miller. Tim Miller points the finger at somebody at Fox. We point the finger at Ryan Reynolds.
Right. Because it was him.
And then this movie becomes the biggest R-rated movie of all time.
Yes. Yep. We beat out Passion of the Christ. Is
ultimately what happens. And it's, it's relative. This movie is relatively low budget. A $58 million budget for a box office return of $782.8 million. If you're counting at home, that is roughly a $730 million profit. And yeah, we can just talk about this movie now. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's just, it's dumb. It's fun. It's somehow heartfelt as well, which I think is such an important piece. And
which I think we can talk about when we talk about, how this movie sets up the subsequent two.
Right. It's so smart as well without being overly complicated too. And, that's one of Court's big points. That's one of Court's big cinema points that I always like to, sometimes cinema isn't complicated. And, it doesn't matter what genre you're in, what you're doing. Like sometimes it can be simple. Like I remember, so this movie came out in 2016, obviously. So I'm a senior in high school when this movie comes out. This is the perfect high school kid, college kid movie.
It's super bad for nerds.
Exactly.
It's super bad for comic book nerds is what this movie is.
And, to the MCU's help, like, having and let's even get away from the MCU. This is when the Fox X-Men movies were actually good. Like, this is when the Fox X-Men movies are like, oh wait, these movies are actually, and then Apocalypse comes out, but after First Class, Wolverine, and Days of Future Past, you're like, oh, like, this is...
Oh, we're so back.
We are back. Like, the X-Men are back. So, this movie is so simple. It's not overly complicated. It's told non-linearly, which is fun.
I love that. It's only like 100 and something minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like shade over an hour and a half.
Right, it's a short shot. And, what this movie might lack, this movie has a villain problem, unfortunately, but everything has a villain problem, so... It
has a villain problem, but the movie is so good,
yeah.
And Ryan Reynolds is so good that it doesn't even matter.
It almost
helps it.
Yeah, and, I wish they would have, referentially played into it a little bit more of, like, the idea, but I don't think that superhero movies knew they had a villain problem at that point, though. I don't think they knew that the villains were the issues in the movies.
Oh, I think this movie absolutely knows that.
Francis.
I think this movie absolutely uses Ajax as a vehicle of, like, these villains in these movies are dumb.
Yeah, they don't feel anything.
Yeah, maybe I'm giving them too much credit retroactively, but you don't put Ajax in a movie without realizing, like, this is a nothing character that means nothing. You know what I mean? And I don't think this movie was never going to be about the villain.
Right.
Ultimately, this movie is going to be about Deadpool.
Right. One of my favorite things about this movie is what comic dartboard did they have where they closed their eyes and they looked and they said Colossus, Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Those are your two. I love it. I love it so much.
It's almost, yeah. It's the best Colossus.
Oh, he's phenomenal. He's amazing. And, like, I hope the MCU gets close to what that Colossus is.
Because Colossus in the X-Men movies is...
He's nothing in 2 and 3, especially in 3. Like, he's supposed to, like... They don't even test to do the relationship with him and Kitty, which I think that was the best piece you could have added to that movie.
He's also in nothing in Days of Future Past, also.
I forgot he was in Days of Future Past in the future. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, Jesus. Like, it was kind of cool that they kind of gave Colossus all characters, like, and I feel like that's a Ryan Reynolds decision where, like, maybe they couldn't. I mean, that's a joke in in the movies when he goes to the X Mansion and he's like, I only ever see the two of you here. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford another X-Men. Like, that's probably true. Like, Fox was probably like, hey, we'll let you kind of do things, but, like, you can't use Wolverine, Cyclops, Professor X, any of those people. So they were like, so Ryan Reynolds was probably like, okay, I'll take Colossus. And then he probably looked at, like, a list of, he went to the X-Men Wikipedia and was like,
what's the funniest name I can find in here? What's the dumbest X-Men I can find?
Yeah. And then he ends up with Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who, it's a great
Gold
performance.
Balls was busy.
It's a great performance for Negasonic. Like, she does a really, really great job.
This movie, like I said, it's so referential. Like, I love her character and, like, the understanding in universe, or, like, outside looking in, what her character is the edgy team. Like, it is the edgy team trope times a million.
Cool it, Sinead.
Cool it, Sinead.
And what this movie had to do, or else it wouldn't have worked, is be genuinely funny. Because it's relentless.
Yep.
The humor and the jokes and the quips are relentless. And if, it needs, what would you say? It probably needs like a 75 to 80% hit rate on the jokes for it to not feel grating. And it soars past that. And
it's the R rating that helps, because if this is a PG-13 trying to get some of those things off, you're simply not doing it. You can't.
And it's visual gags, it's audio gags. I mean, one of my favorite, like, makes me laugh out loud moments is when he's confronting Colossus on the highway after he, like, pins Ajax and Colossus is, like, distracting him, and Ajax gets away, and it's just, like, 10 seconds of Deadpool going, and he's like, he looks back and forth, and, like, the sound effect of, like, his costume, like, when he's like, he's like, that's it! And then obviously he ends up breaking all his bones against trying to fight Colossus. It's just little moments like that I'm just like, this movie is incredible. Like, it's so funny.
What's this movie about?
It's a love story.
It is a love story.
Well, the second movie's a love story. This one is
a like story?
It's an origin story.
It is.
As Deadpool is quick to point out. This is his origin story as it's told to us from Deadpool, non-linearly. So we, the film starts with the test footage,
Right.
the highway sequence.
Obviously, they rendered it a little bit. They probably reshot it again.
They fixed it.
Yeah, they fixed it. Looks great. It's fun.
We have more than a couple $100,000 now. And yeah, it's Deadpool telling us his origin story about how he came to be him. And he's, he's just a man in love, man.
Yeah, he's just a hitman. He's part of the scum and villainy from Mos Eisley, basically. That's him. But he's got a heart of gold.
He does.
To the point where multiple people in the beginning of the movie tell him he's got a heart of gold. But I'm a bad person. Until he meets who?
Vanessa. Why did you say that name?
You embarrassed me in front of Vanessa.
So yeah, we get Marina Baccarin as Vanessa, Gotham's own.
Gotham's own, yep.
She's in this, and she's also really good in this.
She's really good. I think she's
a great foil for him.
Yeah, she's like a very much back to earth version, but also still lets him be him, which that's why the love story works so well too.
Kiss me like you miss me, Red.
Right, and I love how one of the funniest bits is them talking about their horrible upbringings. It's just like, you had a dishwasher? Oh my god.
Yeah, I love the one-upsmanship.
He said he used to put me in a dish. He said I lived in a box for a dishwasher. Wow, you had a dishwasher?
Yeah, they're really great together. She bounces off him really, really well. Because, I think not one of Ryan Reynolds' problems, but, it's really hard to combat that frenetic Ryan Reynolds-ness that he brings to so many movies, and I think she does a really great job of that. I think the actor who plays Colossus does a really great job with that. The actor who plays Negasonic obviously does that. Like, but their relationship is built upon the fact that she's unaffected by his madness. And then Wade gets cancer.
Because nothing, there's no, what's the line that, what some of my favorite lines are? The ones where it's just like in comedy stuff, but it makes you think for a second. You're like, oh, maybe I should be sad today. What's the line that he gives where he says like, life is like this horrible thing and only the good parts are like brief commercial breaks? Like, that's basically what he says. And just like, here's your cancer. I know you found the love of your life, but you're going to die soon, unfortunately. So, and then this is a comic book movie, so guy in a suit comes up and says, I have a chance to give you another life.
So he ends up in the Weapon X facility.
No, not the Weapon X facility.
It's not called the Weapon X facility because we're not allowed to we're not allowed to
get people excited.
We're not allowed to fold it into the X-Men movies because this is a weird Deadpool movie, so no. But it is the Weapon X facility. This is where he is taken in by Ajax and Angel Dust again, two just insane characters.
Angel Dust.
These two, I mean, Gina Carano's performance...
Played by notoriously horrible person Gina Carano.
Jesus!
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
But she's a nothing in this. She's just the muscle.
Good. She should be nothing in this. She sucks.
But I do...
Remember that movie that she made that no one cared about? Yeah. It's because you suck, Gina Carano.
Jesus. Also,
remember when everybody forgot about you in The Mandalorian when you weren't in it? It's because you suck, Gina Carano.
Also notable horrible person, T.J. Miller is also in this movie.
I love how T.J. Miller went on that run where he's just, I wish they would have killed him off in this universe too, because unfortunately Michael Bay got it that T.J. Miller is a horrible person.
Yeah.
But then he took care of it in Age of Extinction.
But yeah, so I do like what they did in this, like the gender flip of the skinny kind of like conniving guy is the main villain, and then like the woman is the muscle. I mean, Ajax.
Let's just talk about the characters because Gina Carano sucks. So let's just talk about the characters. This might be one of my best running bits.
Yeah, this is pretty good. But I mean, she's important to the superhero landing scene. Superhero landing. She's gonna do a superhero landing. Yay! Superhero landing. Oh, that's a great bit. But I mean, I think Ed Skrein does a fine job as Ajax. Obviously, he's not given a ton to work.
But that's I think I'm actually leaning towards you a little bit more, and you've kind of convinced me that is the point, that he is supposed to be the actual run of the mill villain that means nothing to anything, and his power set also backs that point up. If he doesn't feel anything, like He's like the worst of what villains could be, and that's people that just don't care about anybody.
And his name is Francis.
His name is Francis. Swipe the tag off of your laundry.
Oh, I'm coming for you, Francis.
Coming for you, Francis. Where's Francis? I want to get into that sequence where you get... It's such a... How do I explain this? It's such a great way of the way they did the Amazing Spider-Man 1. His suit keeps evolving the more he does the thing scene. It's like a fully R-rated version of that, which I like.
Yeah. So they put Wade through, or Ajax puts Wade through these horrifying, like, horrible experience, basically trying to, unlock his latent mutant power. And it works. Mm-hmm. It works. Congratulations, Wade, we cured your cancer. But unfortunately, you're a disgusting, horrible human being now.
I don't want to talk lore, but how does this work? How does this whole thing work for him? Like, how does he have a latent mutant gene? Is that a thing? That's probably a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like...
Comics are stupid.
Yeah, they're just pulling it out of you by putting you under incredible duress. And it triggers his healing factor, which heals his horrible, horrible cancer forever. Mm-hmm. Which means he can't die, but he also is basically a human tumor.
Right.
So, bit of column A, bit of column B,
right.
But it gives Wade these incredible self-regenerative powers, which, comic fans and movie fans now know is Deadpool's healing factor is unmatched compared to any other character.
Is it?
Probably. But he can't die.
Well, Wolverine got remade from a drop of blood before.
Deadpool's probably done that.
Deadpool's probably came back from just consciousness alone.
Yeah, he was... If Deadpool got snapped out of existence in a snap, he would still come back.
Right, yeah. One of those particles would be like, not on my watch, mister.
And yeah, then, again, like you said, this movie's very simple. So he gets his powers, the Weapon X ability is destroyed, Ajax escapes, and Wade swears revenge on Ajax for forever.
Yep. And he took his girl to try to find him.
Yeah.
Don't touch my girl, man.
So he gets his team together. His team.
Putting together a team.
So who's on this team?
Colossus is a Negasonic teenager. What? What a name. So here's a funny story behind this character. The Negasonic character. They needed permission from Marvel to do this. I don't know why that's hilarious.
They needed permission from Marvel to put this character in Deadpool. So a deal was reached allowing the change, the power, because of her power set. They literally just wanted to use her name, and change her powers. Because in the comics, her powers are, she's a telepath. And she has precognitive abilities. So they were like, no, we're actually going to just make her an exploding person. So they needed permission from Marvel to change her power set. And Tim Miller did this by striking a deal with Kevin Feige. So a deal was reached allowing the change in exchange for 20th Century Fox giving Marvel Studios the film rights to Ego the Living Planet for use in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
That's like, for all my basketball fans out there, that's like a Trae Young for Luka Doncic straight up trade. That's like one of the best equal trades that you could have asked for. That's phenomenal.
Fox gets to change Negasonic's power set in exchange for giving Marvel the rights to Ego, which obviously they end up using in Guardians 2.
Within a year of itself, too. That's phenomenal. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I guarantee you Marvel's like, what do we give them? And James Gunn walked in, he's like,
Let me stop you right there.
Let me stop you right there.
It's like that meme of the guy, like, trade offer.
Yeah. He said, you receive Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I get Kurt Russell to play Ego the Living Planet. Deal?
Both sides win in the end. But that just goes to show you how ridiculous these Marvel's rights things were. When you're like...
You had to split Ego the Living Planet and Negasonic. If I walked on the street and said Negasonic Teenage Warhead, they would have thought I was a crackhead. They would have tried to put me
also,
in
what a move by Kevin. You're right. It probably was James Gunn. Like, that was just like Kevin Feige was like.
Oh, he probably asked like all the people that had movies coming out, and like they were like, "Well, you can't use Namor yet." And Ryan Coogler said, Well, who's got a movie coming out? And James Gunn was like eating a sandwich walking by. He's like, "Did somebody say Ego the Living Planet? My favorite obscure character from the 60s and 70s? I'm in."
I have always wanted to.
I've always wanted to put Ego the Living Planet in one of my movies.
And so Deadpool is responsible for Marvel getting Ego the Living Planet back. That's amazing.
Yep.
Who else is on this team?
Colossus.
I said that already. TJ Miller's on this team.
Ugh, yuck.
Get him out.
Yuck.
He's funny in this, but get him out.
Horrible person.
Horrible person. I do like this delusional world that TJ Miller lives in now, where he's like, man, I didn't want to really be in Deadpool 3. Didn't ask you.
Yeah, what a psychopath. Like, what a narcissist. It's insane. Yeah, he's just like, Ryan Reynolds is the worst.
Yeah,
person.
he's like, oh, it's like diminishing returns. Like, it's not as good as the second one or the first one. Like, didn't want you back.
Yeah,
guy.
buddy,
you suck.
You did horrible things to people. Now you deserve nothing.
Leslie Uggams is in this as Blind Owl.
Yeah, yep. Let's get into it, because she's one of my the Fallout legend. Leslie Uggams is in this. Plays the same character, but no, she doesn't. But so basically, her comic book character is she was Black Widow at one point too, which I think is a nice little Easter egg as well too. She is phenomenal in this movie.
She's so funny, and their exchanges are so funny. Love is blind, Wade.
So are you, Al?
No, Al, you're blind. It's really, really good. And then Dopinder.
Yeah, Goat. Spider-Man India from Across the Spider-Verse as well, too.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's just, so that's his crew. It's, again, like, there's not much to talk about in this movie, other like, plot-wise. Like, he gets his crew together, he finds Ajax, they fight for a bit, and he kills him. That's essentially what happens. And I mean, we can talk about the action in this, which I think is really, really good. I think this movie did a lot at the time where, you know, everyone was getting not sick of it, because we're kind of like in the throes of it, but like action wise, people were like, you know, what can they really do that's going to surprise me? But this, you know, kind of to your point last week about like action movies, like this is kind of an action movie.
It is. Yep. It's like such a 90s action movie too. It doesn't shy away from that either. Because a lot of 90s action movies did have that little beat of romance in there too, which this movie does. So it's just a good time, man. Like you made a great list. This is super bad for nerds. Like this is just like a super, you know, hilarious dark comedy that just so happens to have Deadpool in it. So
and it kind of just swept up everybody in terms of like even like movie critics were like, hey, this movie's kind of funny. Like we kind of mess with this movie a little bit. Like it was kind of like equal parts. Like the nerds obviously really liked it. Comedy fans really, really like it. And then the movie critics, I think, were just kind of impressed by how bold it was and how brash it was and how kind of like it just knew. This is one of those movies that, like, this is my favorite kind of movie. Like the movie that just unabashedly knows what it is. Obviously this movie knows what it is because Deadpool tells us what kind of movie it is.
Right.
And that's the other thing is, like, all of Deadpool's shtick, if it was worse, again, it goes back to the comedy bit. Like, the Deadpool shtick could get very grating if this movie doesn't work.
And if it's not Ryan Reynolds, I don't think this works either.
Yeah. Because, you know, like, the fourth wall breaking thing that's a tough trick. That's a tough trick to pull off. Tough trick to pull off in a comic book. I would argue an even tougher trick to pull off in a movie.
Yeah, because movies, you have the consciousness of, you know, that's one of the burdens of, you know, having movies like this is your consciousness level. Seeing people that look like you automatically make you think real, like I need something real out of this. And, you know, we keep talking about it, but the love story in this movie works, like, and it helps. And it's just because, like, Deadpool's like your stupid, funny college friend that just has no filter on him. That just says whatever they want, whenever they want. Yeah. That also is not the worst person in the world, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
Until they know it.
And again, to your point about Ryan Reynolds, like, if it's not him, it probably doesn't work. Like, the laughs probably aren't as good. Like, he has a knack for comedy. Like, he just does.
Right.
You know, I think that's why he was really miscast in Green Lantern. Right. Like, you know, he's not a leading man in the sense that he's not a hero. He's just a goof. Like, and that's fine. Right. Which is why this works so well, because he's funny, but he's also very earnest and very charming.
Right.
And I think that's why this ultimately works as a movie. Because I mean, again, every line is just something is happening.
Right.
A fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break.
That's like 16 walls.
And it's a movie that just came out, I think, at the absolute perfect time.
Mm-hmm.
What it spawned, we don't know. We don't really know what it spawned. It did spawn a bunch of these other characters, or these other, companies being like, we should do an R-rated thing. This obviously opens the door for Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, two totally different films,
Right.
but it does allow DC to be like, we could do something a little edgier.
And then that movie made $1 billion.
Yeah. Marvel wanted, or Sony Marvel wanted to do Venom as an R-rated movie and then pulled back at the last second. I don't know.
Would I've liked to see the R-rated Venom?
Kinda.
Yeah. With Tom Hardy? Is he doing a voice?
He's always doing a voice, man. And then, this obviously this discussion culminates in like, well, what happens with Deadpool, right? Marvel's surely not going to touch an R-rated
Right.
mature character.
And there's no way they ever get the rights back to all the Fox characters. That would never happen.
Right. I mean, we'll talk about Deadpool 2 next week because we do end up getting Deadpool 2, and guess what? Fox gets their Deadpool team-up movie that they wanted.
They do. Who's it with? Not who you think it is.
X-Force.
X-Force.
We'll talk about it more next week, but just them pulling just insane characters. Shatterstar is in this one.
In the second one, yep.
And then
Zeitgeist is in this. It's not just that; it's the actors that they're getting to play these people are also like who they are, so it makes it even funnier.
Yeah. And then obviously you get Brolin as Cable, and the rest is history.
Fire Fist.
Fire Fist. Yeah, and then the impossible happens. I want you to believe in the impossible. Marvel gets the rights back to the X-Men characters.
What?
Marvel gets the rights back.
I love when we play this person's been in a coma since this date characters.
Just found it out.
What? What?
Yep. And this includes Deadpool.
What do you mean that Andrew Garfield and Andrew and what? They're No Way Home. They're making an Iron Man movie.
Yeah. So Marvel gets.
What do you mean Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Marvel gets.
Wesley Snipes could never play Blade.
Hold that thought. Yeah. So Marvel gets the X-Men back. With that comes Deadpool, and that makes everyone go, "Huh? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what exactly does that mean?"
Right. And I think at first they thought it meant one thing, and then I guarantee you this is what happened. This is my favorite pitch meeting thing that happens. We couldn't do this, right? And then everybody starts laughing, and then the laughing gets maniacal, and then the thing gets made.
Yeah, because I think everyone was concerned that if Marvel made a Deadpool movie, it would be PG-13, it would be toned down, it would be, kind of sanitized.
And I think that was the original plan. I think they were going to try it.
I think they were also going to try it. But I really think Ryan Reynolds was like, no.
Yep.
Like,
I won't
do it.
And
exactly.
Try finding another person to get this $1 billion franchise to get off the ground.
Yeah, because Walter Scobell's not old enough yet.
Right. He's in this movie, right? He's in Deadpool 3, right? As Kid Pool. I don't see any other way.
Oh yeah, that'd be hilarious, actually. Yeah, I honestly think that's what happened. I think Ryan Reynolds was like, no, I built this. I made this.
I built this brick by brick.
I took this role and this character from the grave of X-Men Origins Wolverine. Like, the character and me, Ryan Reynolds, the actor, were damaged beyond reproach after 2011. Like, between X-Men Origins and Green Lantern, like, I was done. So, like, I'm not letting this character go without me being directly attached to everything that happens. And Marvel went, all right.
Fine.
They saw he just brought in the chart of how much money Deadpool 1 and 2 made and was like, huh? And Marvel was like, yeah, he got us.
Hey, guess what we need right now? A little money.
Yeah.
Definitely need a little money.
Lo and behold, everything that happens afterwards. We get Hugh Jackman's back now, which is, again, I think is a Ryan Reynolds driven thing.
Decision. I don't even think they were thinking about it, and then again,
I don't think Hugh Jackman was thinking about it.
Well, again, like I said, I think what happened was like we surely couldn't add Wolverine, and Ryan Reynolds was like, but why not?
That's my guy.
That's my guy. And then I think Hugh Jackman also was just like, can I play a Prime version of Wolverine? Like, can I do the one thing I never did in my 20 plus years of playing Wolverine, and that's play like a comic accurate Prime fun yellow suited Wolverine?
And Ryan Reynolds said, "Yes, you can.
Yes, you can, baby.
Yes, you can, Hugh." And we're gonna get what we're gonna get with Deadpool 3, which we'll obviously talk about more next week.
However, there is a movie in between. Deadpool 2, X-Force.
Yeah.
We should definitely give this one some awards, I think.
Deadpool 1?
I think Deadpool 1 deserves...
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
No, I think Ryan Reynolds is phenomenal. Yeah, I think this movie doesn't work without him. I think that's what I'll leave with. This movie does not work without somebody like Ryan Reynolds there, giving ideas, and I think Tim Miller understood the assignment. You know, it's funny how often it works. When you understand the assignment, usually goes off pretty well, and this movie understands the assignment.
I agree. And I think that's a really great point, especially with this movie in particular, because if you got someone in there, you know, whether it's behind the camera, whether it's in the writer's room, that didn't get it, like get what this character was, a lot of it could fall flat.
Yeah, and filmmaking 101, you do with what you got. Like, this is what you have. Like, obviously, we're not getting the same budget as the mainline X-Men movies. Doesn't matter. I don't need that budget. Like, we don't need it. We just need the movie to work.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to keep this thing low budget. We're going to keep it we're going to keep the action tight and gritty and violent. And I think that's all you need at the end of the day in a movie like this. Like, you didn't need it to be, you don't want it to be, again, to my point, like, about what I think they were worried about porting this over to the MCU was, like, you wouldn't want this movie to look too clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you want it to look a little
dirty,
rough,
disgusting,
nasty. Like, that test footage is a little rough, but like you're like, I'm kind of in. like I kind of like this, you know. So yeah, all in all, you know, this like I said, this movie, it's a pillar. It really is a pillar of kind of like what an R-rated superhero movie can do.
Right.
And like I said, it spawned like, not Joker probably isn't possible without Deadpool.
This. Yep.
You know, everything that comes after it, Logan might not be possible.
Yeah, that might be the more important one, especially for them, is Logan doesn't come out. And obviously, again, tonally different, but the rating itself, you're not getting that without it. So,
and Logan is one of those movies I feel needed that R rating. Like, it needed to be gritty, it needed to be violent, it needed to be like this kind of Clint Eastwood last at the Sundance like type of movie, and that Fox doesn't allow that without Deadpool, because you know, they looked at Fox rightfully so looked at Wolverine like, this is the guy we put on cereal boxes. Like, we can't have a violent Wolverine standalone movie. Like, the kids, think of the kids.
And then they said, F them kids.
F them kids. We're making an R-rated Wolverine movie. And it was
Lord.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will.
That movie we'll talk about too.
Best cinema moment in this movie?
Best cinema moment. Is it just the test footage? The highway scene?
Sure. I'll agree. I'll agree with that. I'm in with that. Best character that doesn't need to be in this movie?
Best character that doesn't need to be in this movie. Let's Weasel. Get him out.
Weasel is in this movie. Yeah. No. I said best character that needs to be in this movie. Worst character that doesn't need to be in this movie would be Gina Carano, who doesn't need to be in this movie.
The actor. Gina Carano, the actor. Get her out. I mean, realistically, like, man, that's tough. Like, the cast is so small, and I feel like they all play, like, a weirdly integral part. Like, I wanted to say Dopinder, but I feel like you need him in the movie.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And, like, you need Colossus. You need Negasonic. You need Blind Owl. You need Negasonic. You need Vanessa.
Yep.
I mean, I guess you could just swap out Ajax with any villain.
Right.
And that probably, you know, that's probably it. That's probably the answer.
Sure.
Is you swap out Ajax and Angel Dust. You could swap out Ajax and Angel Dust with literally any characters.
Right.
And you
go down the X-Men villain list and put anybody there.
And you get the same movie.
Right.
That's probably the answer.
Okay. Best actor to join the franchise. I know the worst actor to join the franchise, and that's Gina Carano.
I mean, it's easy to say. I mean, Reynolds doesn't count, because he had already played Deadpool. I kind of want to say Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. I'm going to say Morena Baccarin as Vanessa. I did. Again, it's just the simplicity of the love story. I think it doesn't... I truthfully, like... Sure, you could get some other actresses to go there, but there's something special about the two of them together.
There's something like Vixen-ish about her. Like
in the beginning, but then it becomes so wholesome. But it's because they matched each other's freak.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly what happened.
I don't know which other actresses are matching his freak. You need a special person to do that.
You somehow get a very compelling, touching love story out of a maniac hitman and a prostitute.
Right. I even made the Pretty Woman joke in there, too. Best car bit? The test footage?
That's either, that or the taxi. The taxi.
Oh, that's it. That is the taxi bit each time. Best family member? Or so best team member? Joe Pender?
I'm going to say...
Pool?
He's good, man. Colossus, I'm going to say.
He's so heartwarming.
I love how he's
like the Superman here. Like, he's like the...
he's the representative of the moral compass of the X-Men.
Exactly. In a place where it just does not need to ever be... That just pushes it away each time.
And it goes... they obviously dive even deeper to that in the second one.
Right. Right. Because he
2 or 3 moments, Wade. What?
What? Best side mission? Does this movie have any side missions? Is it just the opening of him being a hitman?
That, or I was going to say him pursuing the guy who got him into the Weapon X program.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I take that back. You know what the best side mission is? It's more of like, as if you were to play this as an 80s sitcom, it's Wade and Blind Al as like an 80s sitcom. That's the best side mission in this thing.
Yeah.
Because you can spin that, put the Family Matters theme song on there, and that plays.
Yes.
Best side character? Dopinder.
Oh, that's tough. It's Dopinder, but like Blind Owl. She's fantastic.
For this one, I'm going to go Negasonic. I think she's just...
Yeah.
It's just because they all play into their tropes so well, except for Blind Owl. That's the perfect counter to like the wise old sage character, because she's just over it.
Yeah. That's a great point, yeah.
Saddest moment?
Saddest moment.
It's maybe when Wade gets burned alive and...
Oh, like, yeah, when he's undergoing the experimentation, that is tough. That's a tough watch.
Mm-hmm. I was like, this is where part of the R rating's coming from. I get it.
Yeah, that's a rough scene.
Best relationship?
Wade and Vanessa.
In the taxi?
Dopinder and the girl that he has across.
No, that's the saddest moment in the movie. I know our love was meant to be. Most underrated character?
Man.
Is this a Dopinder show? Is it also just Dopinder? He's great. He's so good.
Man, I'm gonna say Negasonic, because that character could have been a nothing character, and she takes over a lot of this. It's very, again, it goes back to like the Ryan Reynolds, like it takes a very special performance and a very special, performer to kind of go toe to toe with him, because he's so overpowering.
Right.
And I think she just matches him perfectly. Like she always managed to like cut him off at the pass when he's like trying to make like a wisecrack, where like Colossus kind of like takes the brunt of like all the wisecracks.
Yep.
And Negasonic like gives it back to him in like full force.
Is she the most realized version of Rex Tyler in what's it called? In Stargirl?
Yeah. And I love I just love the little action bit with her when she like toasts Angel Dust. Like she just goes like full boom.
Do you know why I love that moment?
Because Gina Carano's a horrible person.
Exactly. There you go. Best 1v1?
Colossus versus Angel Dust.
It's pretty good. The best 1v1 actually is the Zamboni versus that one guy that's trying to get away.
You're about to get killed by a Zamboni. I'm a sucker for a big hoss fight, and that's what the Colossus Angel Dust fight is. It's just two beasts just going up against each other, just slinging.
Right. Good stuff. Best heat check performance?
Is it Dopinder?
Yeah, that might be Dopinder, because he comes to that movie, he's just putting up numbers as soon as you see him.
Yeah, I mean, it's, that when we talk about like the heat check thing. It's always like, what's your hit rate with like the sequence, like the scenes that you're in, and like he's not in a lot of scenes, but he's hysterical in every scene that he's in.
Yep. Funniest moment? Jesus
Christmas. My God. This is like the toughest one of these we've ever done. Man, there's so many. I mean, it's just anytime. I don't know. I'm trying to think back to like what moments made me laugh the hardest. Man, do you have one?
I don't know why this one kills me, but it's when they're on the highway and Ajax is getting away, and Deadpool asks like, "What's your name?" Negasonic Teenager. Negasonic Teen. What? But it's coupled with the it's just that whole sequence of him just roasting her for like being the teenage angsty character, like zip it, Sinead.
The part that makes me laugh is the when they pull up to the final battle and he gets out and it's like big slow motion hero, like they're rolling up and she goes, "Hey douchepool, where's your duffel bag?" And that's when he realizes he left all the guns in Dopender's taxi.
It's good. It's good.
Which segues into like superhero land and like it segues into all that, Francis, this movie, it's hard to isolate like a singular funny moment in like any comedy, because it's usually the best comedies like will have, joke layered into joke, and like they all kind of compound onto each other that culminates in like usually one big laugh is like what the best comedies do, and I think this movie does that really, really well. You know what? Another funny moment is when they're confronting Angel Dust, and he's like, what does he say to her? He's like, "You're a lovely lady, but I'm saving myself for Francis."
Right.
That's why I brought him. And Colossus is like, "I'd prefer not to hit a woman."
Oh yeah. Remember that weird sexual tension between the two of them?
And then Negasonic's like on her phone, and he's like, "Oh no."
Yeah, we'll wait for you. It's okay.
because Colossus gets like Angel Dust slugs Colossus, and Deadpool's like, "I guess that's why I brought her."
She's like rolling her eyes. She's like, "Oh God, okay." Best exposition dump?
Deadpool narrating the beginning of the movie.
It's good.
I thought this was a superhero movie.
Right.
Like, I'm super, but I'm no hero. Like that kind of bit.
I gotta agree with that. It's just the narration itself is just it's dialed. It's funny. It's never too overbearing.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Best source material callback. The suit. The suit actually being freaking. We didn't even talk about the suit. This is one of the best superhero suits that has ever graced live action. It is one of the best by far.
Perfect.
It's
perfect. Like,
what are some perfect suits?
That are like practical, because the Iron Man Iron Man one is really good.
We'll count Iron Man because obviously you got to do some CGI into that suit.
The Iron Man one is
phenomenal. I quite like Captain America Winter Soldier's first suit. That's a great suit.
I might ruffle some feathers with this, but the Batman
suit, that suit I think that's all. Is it because of him though?
I don't know.
He fits that suit well. Not like that, but he fits the suit very well.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I think the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit is
phenomenal.
Is the best. Is a flawless Spider-Man suit.
I think Raimi's suit's dang good too. I think Raimi's suit's really good.
It is. I think the Raimi suit is more like it became like its own thing. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't like the definitive Spider-Man suit, but like that suit is so iconic that it retroactively became the definitive Spider-Man suit because the raised webbing and all that stuff.
Right.
I think again, this might be ruffling some feathers just because of the personnel, but the Gal Gadot Wonder Woman costume is
pretty solid. That was pretty
great.
Moon Knight's suit, I thought when they actually had Oscar Isaac in the actual suit itself, not the CGI suit, that suit, I really thought that suit was great.
Doctor Strange. I mean,
Doctor Strange might have one of the best suits in the entire.
It's not a hard suit to do,
right?
Because it's just like a cloak and a cape, buddy.
But it's all the detailing too.
It's the detailing. It's Cumberbatch himself, the goatee,
right?
But no, I think the Deadpool suit might be maybe the best.
It is.
It's like they pulled it out of the comic book.
Exactly. That's what it works.
It's like you're like, and somehow this one looks better. The Deadpool 3 one. Like it's just
the Deadpool 3 one looks the best out of all of them so far. I want to see it on the big screen, but it looks great. We are on the. What's your favorite cameo out of this movie? This movie isn't really do that.
No, I would say, I mean, the funniest one is the post credits when he kills.
Right.
Like, that's objectively the funniest one.
Kills Ryan. Is it Hugh Jackman? Is it the lack of Hugh Jackman, but the abundance of Hugh Jackman? Is that the best one?
That's pretty good. But he's like, yeah, it's just like constant prodding at Hugh Jackman. Mm-hmm. Which, again, I think all ties into the fact why he ultimately came back for this movie.
It's good stuff. Best NPC? What's the big guy at the bar that's always playing like some biker and everything?
Yeah. That's. I was gonna make a joke and say Ajax, but
that's good. That's real good. That's really good. Favorite action sequence?
It's hard not to say that car fight on the highway.
It's
man.
Good. It's great. It's good to great.
I mean, there's a reason why people saw that and were like, "You need to make this movie now."
Yeah, or else.
It's because the action. I mean, it's so creative. Mm-hmm. You know, the use of slow motion is really good too. Mm-hmm. In that sequence with like just inside the car when like it's like people are like flying over other people, like he's killing people in slow motion. Like I really really like that car sequence, man.
Favorite line?
Oh man, maximum effort.
Maximum effort.
Maximum effort is pretty good.
That line with Al is incredible.
Oh, love is blind. Wait, no, blind. You're blind.
No, you're blind.
I pity the dude that's gonna pressure her into prom sex.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Favorite world building or lore moment? Is it the lack of the X-Men?
It's the lack of the X-Men. It's the in universe joke of not knowing what Professor X is in the universe. McAvoy or Stewart, the timelines are so confusing. Like there's a little commentary on that. Actually, you know what mine is? It's Bob the Hydra agent.
Yeah,
in this.
That you, Wade? Bob?
I thought that was pretty cool, pretty fun. And again,
that also could have been the best source material callback because that's a thing from the comics that they do.
Yeah,
he just randomly knows one Hydra agent and it's Bob.
Yeah, and I love, and again, it just goes to show you like how much how smart Ryan Reynolds is. That like he's like, what can we put in this movie that like skates around the Marvel kind of legality stuff. We can put Bob the Hydra agent in this, but obviously say he's not Hydra. Mm-hmm. Like he did those things like A, because he wanted to, B, because he knew it would pop a crowd, like to just throw these stupid little things in there.
That's good. I do enjoy that. Your favorite performance in this movie? Sometimes it's simple.
It's Ryan Reynolds.
It is Ryan Reynolds.
The movie.
It's Dope Pinder. Sorry, just kidding.
We've talked about more than a handful of movies, but only a handful of movies where you look at the performance and you're like, does this movie work if this person is not in it?
No earthly shot.
And there's no shot this movie works if he's not in this. It's just his charisma alone just propels this movie to being a $800 million juggernaut, which is an insane kind of testament to, he's uniquely, sometimes you're just uniquely suited for a particular thing.
Right. Favorite character? Sometimes it's simple. It's Ajax, obviously.
It's Deadpool. I mean, again, it's smartly written. Like I said, there's a million different ways that this movie becomes very grating. It becomes very boring. It becomes very one note. Like you're like, he's doing this again. But every time he does something, it's funny. And that's hard to do. Mm-hmm. Like in terms of like genre performances, like comedy is one of the hardest to do.
Agreed. Yep.
Because you have to hit, like those lines have to hit.
Yep.
And if they don't hit, if they fall flat, like the audience gets bored and then they check out and then you're done. Mm-hmm. This movie does not have that problem. Again, it's very short. It's very tight. Little over 90 minutes, which is perfect. Like, It doesn't need to be any longer than that. It doesn't need to be shorter than that. It doesn't overstay its welcome. I think the non-linearity of it helps it a ton. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, hand in hand.
Favorite moment?
I quite like you kind of think you were talking about earlier. I quite like the quiet moments between Wade and Vanessa, like a lot actually. Like I think it adds a lot of it's weird to say that it adds levity to a comedy movie, but the human moments in a movie like this often provide the levity instead of the other way around, where it's usually the comedy providing levity for the human moments. In this, it's kind of like the inverse,
Right.
which I kind of like.
It's the montage where he was developing his suit, where he's looking for Francis, which includes the sequence of you're about to get kicked by a Zamboni. Like, that whole thing. The action's good in there, too. Like, the action's actually good. He gets to show off that not only am I, like, this funny actor, like, you know, I don't know how much he did, but, like, at least my character can fight like this, too.
Yes, I think that's a great point that we kind of overlooked, was, like, he's jokey, quippy, but also
Pretty
incredibly dangerous.
Right.
Which I think...
It's important, too, because you don't want to run into the trap. I'm trying to remember what this is, where it was something we talked about one day where, like, I never felt truthful, like, that you're, like, ready for... Oh, it's the Paul Rudd Ant-Man thing, where, like, I think Paul Rudd's Ant-Man fell into the trap of, like, especially... And it started to become, like, an issue in 2, and then 3 is where it really became, like, an oh no. Like, I don't know how credible you are as the actual superhero. We're lucky we love you as the person.
The most credible he is probably Civil War.
I think Ant-Man 1, he's pretty good. I think he's pretty credible in Ant-Man 1. Because it's the closest to the trust that he plays the thing that got him there in the first place, and that's the thief, like the good thief. So, you know, and then to your point in Civil War as well, too. Even without the Giant Man, just him being Ant-Man, like, but again, they start to and it becomes glaringly apparent in the second one where it's just like, why can't Wasp just do this mission and be done? Like, why did they need him in the first place?
And it's a great point about Deadpool. Like, he is formidable, and I think, you know, that's why that first chunk of X-Men Origins Wolverine, everyone is so enamored by that performance, because, like, he's joking, he's quipping, he's wisecracking in the elevator, and then he gets out of the elevator and he does, you know, obviously he does the ridiculous sword windmill, he cuts the bullet in half, but at the same time, like, presentation of what you're showing me, you're like, oh, yeah, snap. Like, this guy, he might be jokey, but he does not muck around when it comes to, like, you know, actually executing people.
Right. And that's why I like that montage so much, because it doesn't only show me that he's such an, like, you know, no, he's freaking hilarious. He's also an issue. Like, he's also a sociopath. Yeah, he's also, like, a problem to deal with. So, and he's also immortal. Like, he can't die. So, yeah. And that's Deadpool 1.
Did we want to give out the first ever John David Washington Kenny Act Award?
Yeah. So we were cooking up some new awards. I'd like to introduce 3 awards this week. We have the John David Washington Can He Act Award. Can he act? Can they act?
We don't know.
We don't know for sure.
This one goes to Ed Skrein as Ajax.
Yeah. Yep. Can he act?
I think maybe.
Yeah. Huh? He's there.
He is there. He was in Rebel Moon.
Yeah, he was. Yep. No good. No good. No good. Rebel Moon was no good.
No Ed Skrein.
Hey, what did I say? I said he's yoked out. What's his name from X-Men and Mad Max, and then he's gonna be in Superman. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Why can't I remember Nicholas Holt? Yeah, he's yoked out Nicholas Holt. That's who he is.
Oh my God, he was the original Dario Naharis in Game of Thrones before he got recast.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I don't know if he can act, actually.
And that's the point of the award. We'll never know. For sure. I'd like to give out the very first movie star Glenn Powell Award. 2? And sometimes it's easy. It just goes to Ron Reynolds.
This is a very movie star performance.
Yeah, this is the Glenn Powell movie star award.
Is the spirit of this award, like, your star power alone drove this movie?
No, well, it's not mutually exclusive to that, because sometimes you're just a movie star.
Okay.
What you need is to not do TV. That helps with the Glenn Powell movie star award. You're a movie star.
I see.
You're not a TV show star.
Yes. Okay.
But we can break the rule by the time we get to Gladiator for Pedro Pascal.
Well, he's so movie star that he brought his movie star to TV.
Yep. See? And that's why you can break the award. And the Denzel Washington, it's a parent and son award. The Denzel Washington, he can act award.
TJ, just kidding.
Nope. It goes to Morena Baccarin.
She can act.
She very much can act, and I love it.
Yeah, it is very, like, her performance in this, you're like, she's good.
Yeah.
Like, she's really good.
Like, you're you do the acting for your life, don't you? Like, you do the acting.
And she's in a lot of stuff.
She is in a lot of stuff.
She was the voice of Gideon in The Flash? I did not know that.
Yep.
Wow. I love when I just go on the Wikipedia and I'm like, this person was in this?
Right.
Remember we find out that Stephen Lang was the guy who shot Will Smith on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
But we also found that out, like, within the week of him slapping Chris Rock. That's what made that infinitely better.
I was like, whoa. Huh. She was the voice of Talia al Ghul in Batman things? Ah. She could be a live-action Talia al Ghul.
I think so, too. I don't know if she's too old for it now. But maybe if she... Yeah, maybe not. No, maybe not. Because that's the conceit that Damian Wayne is a kid. Or, like, Damian Wayne's around. That works for me.
Cool.
Put Miranda Bachman's in a lot of stuff. Put her in more stuff.
Yeah, put her in more things.
Put her in even more things.
She was in The Mentalist. Very cool. Good for her.
What do you mean she was in Gotham? Just kidding.
I liked her in Gotham.
I quite liked her in Gotham.
It wasn't so crazy.
Gotham got weird.
Well, yeah, it wasn't so crazy.
Gotham was always kind of weird, but then it knew it got weird.
It did know it got weird, which I like about it.
Man, so many people were watching Gotham when that first came out. There was a lot of people watching that show.
What I love about Gotham is they're like, we're going to make a show about Jim Gordon and Batman's not going to be in this. And then they got to season 3 and they're like, Bruce Wayne should just be the main character. And we're like,
and then they did a lot of weird stuff with Jim.
Yeah.
They did a lot of weird stuff with him.
And then he got the mustache
Yeah,
at the
he
end.
did. Yeah, he did. Big time, baby. And then they did the infamous bat suit at the end. And everybody's like, oh no.
Cameron Monaghan, though.
Yeah. The best thing to come out of that show was the revelation of that's a Denzel Washington he can act award. Shout out Cameron Monaghan. Put Cameron Monaghan in more stuff.
Great awards. I like these new additions. It's going to be fun to Deadpool 2 next week. We're going to... Can he act?
Ooh, there's somebody I'm thinking about for this award next week. But it's not in the way that you think.
Ooh, I'm excited to find out.
Oh, it's a Roland Emmerich movie. What if the John David Washington Can He Act award wasn't what you think? What a tagline for a movie. What if the moon wasn't what you think? You're telling me that didn't make $1 billion?
I just remember seeing that for the first time in theaters, like when the first trailer dropped for it. It was like, what if the moon was not what you think? And I'm like...
You said what now?
I'm not gonna lie, I'd be scrolling my phone sometimes during trailers, but I was locked in for the Moonfall trailer.
You know what?
I said, is that Halle Berry?
Yeah. You know what? The Moonfall trailer was great because it showed the entire movie and the twist in the trailer.
It did. See, that's where he messed up. That's where he lost the plot from. See, M. Night Shyamalan doesn't give away the twist.
No.
You could probably guess what the twist is,
right,
in an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
What's the twist and trap?
That he's the murderer, right?
No. His daughter's the murderer and he's covering for her. That's what I like.
Oh,
no. What was the one I liked? That the actual pop star's the actual murderer? That's what I'm going with.
You know what the crazy part is? It could be any of those things.
Yeah. You know what the best twist is going to be? You know the guy in the trailer, the black guy in the trailer that's just like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, right? What if he's the murderer?
I will never forget in high school, we had an all class assembly where we went to the auditorium and watched a movie, right? And the movie we watched was The Village, and I had never seen it. So,
as an entire school, you watched The Village of all movies?
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
Don't worry about it.
Jesus.
We watched The Village, and this is when I was in I was in 10th or 11th grade. So I had no concept of M. Night Shyamalan or I wasn't aware of the gimmick. So I went in there and everyone was watching this movie, and then the twist happens. The M. Night Shyamalan twist happens at the end of The Village, where you find out it's not the village. It takes place in the modern day. Mm-hmm. And I just remember everyone just being like, what? It was the lamest thing. Mm-hmm. And he's never disappointed me since.
Yep.
And he tricked me. He's tricked me every time.
Yep.
Every time he's tricked me, I went into Glass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that movie was great for 2/3 of it. And then the third act happens and the movie completely falls apart.
Yep.
And then Bruce Willis dies in a puddle. All right, I'm done. I'm done talking about M. Night Shyamalan.
No.
We were talking about Deadpool. Deadpool, really, really good. Deadpool 2 next week, also really, really good.
Yep. Directed by
David Leitch.
Yep.
We're back on David Leitch corner.
Fan favorite of the podcast, David Leitch.
He is a fan favorite. So David Leitch's first movie, I believe, is Deadpool 2.
Well, I mean, technically his first movie is John Wick, but this is his first no. He had something in between. He had something in between this and John Wick.
Oh, Atomic Blonde.
Yeah,
Atomic Blonde's the first one.
That was the first one where remember Atomic Blonde?
Yes.
That got a lot of notoriety when it was coming out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's got Atomic Blonde, then Deadpool 2. So David Leitch's second movie. And we'll talk about it next week. But that will do it for us this week. You can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook at the Project Infinite Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram
at the Project Infinite Pod.
And like I said up top, you can now find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Project Infinite Pod. Yeah, man. Next week we're in the Deadpool triangle. So we have Deadpool 2 next week, and then a little Deadpool 3 preview probably with some. Do we have to do any shows that week?
Yeah, we're probably gonna have to do the boys and the Acolyte.
Yeah, which will probably just segue into us talking about the boys.
Yep,
because that's the better show. Unfortunately, look, I tried.
Not according to the right, it's not.
You're waging a war against the right this week, which is fine.
No. I'm waging a personal war against Gina Carano, who's notoriously a horrible person.
This is the episode that gets us our big break.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have to fight Gina Carano. Remember when she made that movie that didn't even make like $100,000? Great stuff. Good job.
Look, I tried to be nice to the Acolyte. I did. I tried.
And the Acolyte has one insane episode.
One insane episode that it nowhere near earned.
Right. But it did it, and it was crazy.
That episode was... Can you imagine... I know I'm jumping on... I mean, we're not going to talk about the Acolyte much when we talk about the Acolyte. But can you imagine if that whole show had been better, and then they do that episode where like you're like really in, like you're really into the characters and really into the story, and then you get that episode, you'd be like, whoa!
That show...
This is the greatest show of all time!
That show did not go to screenwriting class because that show does one thing egregiously bad, and that's character work. It's bad. It's sad. And I told you this after 3 weeks, and I said, I don't care about one of these characters. That's
the thing they were worried about.
I don't have a reason to care about any of them. And like Osha and May's backstory is interested, but unimaginably stupid. I'm sorry, it is so dumb. I do not care about these two girls from this random planet. I don't care. Do not care. And Soul is the only one that I start to pull from, but they wait for the Soul bit for too long. They hold off on it for 7 weeks. It was too little too late. And then once the villain reveal comes and you're like, oh, it's too little too late, but there's no contention to him. Because that's why everybody's making these fan cams and edits for him, because nobody cares about anybody else.
Yeah, it's a shame, man. It's a shame, because I think we both were really excited about the idea. But like you said, like we've been saying, when we saw even the first trailer, we were like, I think this show might have a character problem. Like, I'm not sure who I'm supposed to be getting behind or excited for. And that's kind of come to pass.
The Jedi do suck.
Yeah, that too.
You know who else sucks? Just kidding.
Gina Carano. It'll never get old. Good thing we don't have to talk about her next week.
Yeah.
Because she's not in Deadpool 2.
Why is she in Deadpool 2? Because she's a horrible person.
TJ Miller, however, is in Deadpool 2.
No.
Not as much, though.
No, not even a little bit.
Not nearly as much. But yeah, we'll be back next week for some more Deadpool talk. I did the socials already, so that is that. That was a fun Deadpool conversation. Fun to revisit that movie. It's really, really good. And yeah, I think Deadpool 2 just expands upon what the first one did. It obviously introduces Josh Brolin as Cable. We'll have a little Josh Brolin corner next week, because the year that he had during the Deadpool 2 year was just insane. So we'll do a little Josh Brolin talk next week. And from the...
Careful, man. Don't even think about it.
The Gina Carano? No, I'm kidding.
Nope.
We'll say the Negasonic Teenage Warhead of the podcast.
Oh, don't worry. Just stay on your phone. It's fine. Don't have anything to do.
Yeah, the Negasonic Teenage Warhead of the podcast.
You could have given me Colossus. That would have been a good one.
Oh, Colossus would have been a good one, too. I was just thinking, like, the age difference. This is what I was going for. But yeah, Until then, goodbye.
Peace.